Mr. Speaker, my amendment, co-sponsored by Jeff Van Drew and Dr. Andy Harris, requires the President or his designee to certify that offshore wind turbine projects in the North Atlantic and Mid-Atlantic planning areas will, quote, not weaken, degrade, interfere with, or nullify the capability of radar relied upon by the FAA or the Armed Forces. It would also require that the DOT-IG conduct a comprehensive review of the sufficiency of the process used to approve offshore wind projects in areas critical to air travel and national security. Many of us, Mr. Speaker, are deeply concerned over the safety, efficacy, and likely deleterious environmental impact of embedding some 3,400 ocean wind turbines, each the size of the Chrysler Building in New York, off our coast. We have serious, well-founded concerns that offshore wind turbines will interfere with radar capabilities and, as a direct consequence, create a dangerous and potentially catastrophic impact on both military and commercial aviation activities, as well as helicopters used by the Coast Guard to save lives. Offshore wind development will affect some of the busiest airspace in the country, including areas surrounding Newark, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Washington, which contain major international airports, dozens of smaller airports, and several military and Coast Guard aviation facilities. Mr. Speaker, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management's radar interference analysis from August of 2020 stated, and I quote in part, the research team found that the proposed and hypothetical wind farms are within the line of sight of 36 radar systems, indicating that they will generate interference to these radars under normal atmospheric conditions, and to continue the quote, future offshore wind energy installations on the Atlantic coast may impact land-based radar systems, close quote. Additionally, in 2017, the Interagency Ground-Based Coastal Air Surveillance Wind Turbine Radar Interference Vulnerability Study found that, quote, offshore wind turbines may pose unique impacts to coastal radar systems given the differences in propagation of radar signals over the ocean versus land, as well as the larger size of offshore wind turbines compared to land-based wind turbines, close quote. This particular analysis, I would point out, relied on the Block Island wind farm off the coast of Rhode Island, whose turbines are 589 feet tall. The turbines slated for installation off New Jersey and New York are significantly higher, approximately 1,000 feet. They're huge, and they will affect radar. DOD has expressed serious concerns over offshore wind development off the Virginia coast. How does that apply to us and to all of this commercial aviation, which is, again, the gist of this amendment? I have personally, Mr. Speaker, read several of the major impact studies for these projects, and they confidently, almost arrogantly, suggest and assert that problems that might arise can be, quote, mitigated. Really? Then support my amendment and ensure that that's the case, and we do our due diligence. A 2022 comprehensive study by the National Academy of Sciences found that, and I quote them, wind turbine generator mitigation techniques have not been, I emphasize, have not been substantially investigated, implemented, matured, or deployed. Additionally, the NAS found that wind turbine generator returns obfuscate even marine vessel radar, and that's not the subject here, but it is radar. Therefore, it leads to false images when vessels are traversing our oceans. Mr. Speaker, allies including Taiwan, Japan, Finland, and Sweden have halted certain offshore wind turbine projects due to objections from their armed services. Taiwan, an article last year in the Taiwan News said, and I quote, the military has confirmed that wind turbines could interfere with surface-to-air missile systems deployed in the northwestern coast of Taiwan. The low-frequency noise generated by the turbines is likely to affect the reflected radio waves that phased array radars need to detect signals of missiles or aircraft. That is very serious. This wall will make us blind potentially, but it'll inhibit our ability to see what's going on. And again, so much commercial aircraft, they need to have unfettered ability to traverse the skies. Finally, no matter where any of my colleagues come down on offshore wind, a certification by the President or his designee and the due diligence that will require that offshore wind turbines do not weaken, degrade, or interfere with or nullify the capability of radar relied on by the FIA is both prudent and it is absolutely necessary. And I thank the distinguished chair for including this in his block amendment.